that at a certain level of success, not everyone's going to like you. It's impossible. If you want to get everyone to like you, be nobody. Be nobody and help nobody, essentially is what it is.
Welcome to the Purpose Driven Executive Podcast, where we help you go from making your work your life to making your life work. We share true stories, interviews, and experiences that will help you, the hero, in your quest for passion and purpose. Higher purpose, higher productivity. This is the Purpose Driven Executive Podcast.
People of purpose, thank you so much for joining us today. I've got someone, and if you don't know her, you're probably not on LinkedIn. So I just actually want you to stop right now and pull over the car before you do it if you're listening in the car. And go ahead and go to LinkedIn and find Shay Rowbottom. And it's spelled just the way it sounds. I am not even going to attempt to tell you all of the great stories of her life. I'm going to let her share some of that here with you now. But you're failing yourself if you're not going back and doing a little bit of stuff. You're going to find all kinds of cool videos and posts and all kinds of great things from her. But this is a woman of purpose, someone who has created something significant in not just a business that's flourishing in a very quick amount of time, but also maintains a human perspective. She's just genuine in what she brings. And so I just had to have her on. I'm really excited to introduce you to the one, the only, as far as I know, Shay Rowbottom.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Donnie.
Well, Shay, talk to, I've got to say, when I saw a video from you, it was a few months ago, well, gosh, probably a year ago, maybe when we first started getting onto the Shay train. And it was someone else liked or commented on something you said, and that's how we all find all the great stuff, right?
Yes.
And I was really surprised at some of the content that you were sharing. I think the first one I saw was had to do with, why God is real. And maybe that was one of the, it was once I saw one.
No, that was a post. That was a video. So that makes sense.
I had to jump into a bunch, and your videos are famous. They're fun. They're genuine. They're quirky.
Thank you.
And I know that this wasn't you didn't grow up thinking this is what you were going to be. You pivoted into this. I want to hear from you. How did you find this this space first off, and then I want to hear a little bit about the content of why you produce what you produce. But how did you find this thing? You were a musician.
Yeah, thank you. I was a musician. I did always, since I was a little girl, want to be in entertainment, but I was, specifically kind of stuck on music as a young adult. And, that was a really hard road. I didn't have a lot of support. I didn't have any marketing expertise. I was just totally winging it, total starving artist. But then I eventually met Luke and also came across an opportunity to learn how to edit and create videos for large social media pages. My first client had 2.5 million followers at the time. So
your first client?
Yeah, my first client. Yeah. So
okay.
For me, it was really realizing, holy crap, this guy knows what he's doing and he knows how to get attention online and he's monetizing and he's killing it. I really kind of humbled myself and just put music on the back burner for a few years to learn from these experts in the social media world. And not only that, but it was so easy to grow my business because there was really at the time no one licensing video content for creators on platforms like Facebook or Instagram, which I don't know if you remember, but those platforms, there used to be a lot more copyright issues, a lot more stolen content, a lot of pages just growing quickly because they were taking from other creators and not really crediting. And it was just it was a bad situation. And Facebook eventually cracked down, laid the hammer down and said no, if you get reported for copyright, 3 strikes and you're out, and they'll just shut a page down completely. So it kind of happened around this same time where these pages started coming out of the woodwork. Like, we need video, we need licensed video specifically. They were like, we need safe content. We don't really know where to start. We don't edit videos. Like, so it was a really unique opportunity for me and Luke. Like, there was just such a demand in the market. So we started off like word of mouth, you know, people were hearing about us, you know, hey, these kids have a business, they're licensing, they're doing it the safe way. So for me, it was really, well, it was about making money, which was awesome because we were doing really well, but also just, it was really, I was grateful to be put in a position where I had so many clients who understood social media marketing and how to get attention online, teaching me how these videos I was making for them should look. You know, they were teaching me about headlines, about how to get attention right away in the first 3 seconds. It was like, I was able to soak up all this knowledge and I was just like a sponge. So then I did that, you know, I scaled my company and was able to eventually sell it and exit. And part of that I had to do with LinkedIn. So about a year ago, I got on LinkedIn to create videos for my business at the time. I just thought, you know, I'll make some videos on my personal page. Maybe I'll get some leads. And it was actually Q. I don't know if you know Quinton alums. It was actually Q. He's big on LinkedIn. He was one of the pioneers, but he helped me get started. And it was really his influence that kind of showed me like, hey, there's a big opportunity on this platform right now. And being so like emerged in the Facebook world, I wasn't thinking about LinkedIn. It wasn't really a thing to me. But then I started posting, and then that's when everything changed. You know, I not only saw incredible growth for my business from it, but I saw that I had that, you know, creativity, that creative outlet that I was missing for the past couple of years. I got to fill that again. So, you know, it's not like I'm doing music again, but I very much feel more fulfilled again and kind of back in like my true purpose, which is being creative, you know, being entertaining, and, you know, hopefully educating people along the way.
Hey friend, if you consider yourself a purveyor of purpose and you want to recruit more people into the rebellion, do this one thing. Do it right now. I want you to, first off, subscribe to the Purpose Driven Executive Podcast. And then I would ask you to rate and leave comments. Of course, I'll read your comment out to all of the rest of the cyber world and purpose warriors that are out there. But this just helps us to get found by those people in Stitcher and iTunes and all of the different podcasting, broadcasting platforms that are out there. So if you will do that, you will help me to succeed in my mission to impact more people with a message of purpose.
Oh, I love it. I'm gonna ask this question right now. Like, I feel like, Shay, we're all here to create.
Yeah,
We're all co-creators in this thing. And I think that a lot of times we don't know what that is until we get good at something, right? It takes some work hours, like a little bit of sweat to get good at something. And so, but like, connect with me, like this whole music thing. Like, we went from music, and this was you were sold out. You were right, like, and I've heard the story, right? You're waitressing. They're like it was, and it kind of felt like it did a nosedive. Like, how did you recover from that personally and internally? And then how did you how are you connecting that now with your creative juices and what's happening now?
Yeah, thank you. I mean, that's like a really great question. I think it did take a long time for me, as someone with a little bit of an ego, you know, it definitely took time for me to accept the failure in the music, you know, like I feel like it was really a logical decision to quit and to learn video marketing, because a lot of artists they just have so much pride that they're like, no, what do you mean, give up on my dreams? And the pride kind of blinds them from the reality, which is like oftentimes you're just not growing as an artist though. Like, okay, but how many more tickets have you really sold to your shows? How like, what is this going to look like 10 years from now if you're growing at such a slow rate? So I really it was hard. Like, I really had to call myself out and be realistic about that. And I feel like it was a really big like blow to my ego and my self-esteem for a time. I just felt like a failure. I felt like, you know, even though I was in a great position now because I was learning marketing and I was making money and I was, learning more and more about business. I definitely had a sense of failure, and I felt like sad that I wasn't able to cut it doing something that I'm really passionate about. Because truthfully, I wasn't as passionate about the marketing stuff. I was just more pragmatic. Like, hey, I need to learn this. Like, for my own benefit, I need these skills. And I don't think a lot of artists are willing to do that. I think they just want to stay in their comfort zone, which is creating, without ever having to learn how to like market their creativity. So it was hard. I did have a lot of writer's block, like creative block when I started on LinkedIn. Like, I had no idea, if people were going to like my posts. I was, kind of having a block in like what I should talk about, how to structure my videos. And it took a long time to kind of like gain that confidence back, like realizing like, no, like I am still an entertainer. This is still what fulfills me in my heart. And, realizing again, like, no, I am good at this. I think music was a little harder for me because I wasn't as naturally gifted in music. I just loved music. But with the videos, I don't have to sing on key with the videos. So like, for me, it was really discovering like, oh, well, maybe like I'm better at just being, on camera, or I'm better at just coming up with these short video ideas for my own personal brand. And then seeing the reaction of the users, like, definitely helped validate that. Like, okay, no, I am in my purpose, and I am like doing what I'm good at now.
Well, you mentioned something, and I just wrote it down, and like if you see me not looking at you on the camera, really, it's I'm taking notes, and giving up on my dreams. Like, there's such a pride thing for you. And listen, there's a whole entrepreneurial community out there that we get wrapped around something, and it's I need to come up with a term, but part of it's going to be fixation.
Yeah.
Like, this is the way that it's going to be, and I'm fixated that it has to be this way. And like, that can actually be pretty toxic.
It is.
Right. To getting to that place. And especially like if you've done that for only so long, you don't know what else there is. And I would say, like, my first business venture, Shay, went for I went for 13 months without an income. So it was like really a hobby, not really a and I have children. I have a wife, and we had to move in with my family. This is almost about a decade ago.
Yeah.
The reality is I didn't know, because I'd seen all the Rockies. I didn't know that I could quit. I thought I couldn't quit.
Yep. Yeah.
What caused you to be able to say, no, that's okay? Maybe speak to that a little bit, because I think there may be someone out there that's like teetering on something that hasn't gone well. That's not like when is it okay to quit?
Yeah. Well, I think everyone has their breaking point, and it's just different for everybody. Like, I do think eventually everyone comes to the realization that they failed, or it's not working, or it's not what they thought. For me, I probably just hit that a little sooner because I am a very impatient person. I'm very like, I want to see results right away. And I had been doing music for years, and it wasn't just like I started recording. I tried it out for 6 months. I did some shows, and then I quit. Like, I was really at this for a long time, and I'm actually proud of the progress I did make, because I didn't come from a place of knowing anything about music, where to market myself, how to do it. And I really didn't have support from my family for even trying to take that route. So like, what I did accomplish on my own, just being like young and naive, I am still proud of, but it was like 5 years of just kind of going in the same circles. Mm-hmm. Like, I was very impressionable. I was very like just ignorant, and I was sold a dream. There's a lot of slimy people in the music industry. So like, I was sold a dream a couple times. I kind of like fell into these traps. So it was just a matter of hitting that breaking point where I was like, okay, like, this isn't working. I've gained like 1,000 followers in 5 years. Like, this is not the trajectory I want to be on anymore. But it is ego. Like, you have to put down your ego to even assess that accurately and see the situation for what it is. So for me, if someone out there is like questioning, should I quit? Or, should I take this risk? Am I doing the right thing? I would definitely urge people to try to step outside of their ego and just be logical. Because I think that can be really hard for us. I think we lie, this, like, I see this with like college, for example, like people who have degrees they don't use, and they have debt that's essentially just like wasn't necessary. And they'll still like be in denial. Like, no, I loved college though. It was totally worth it. And it's kind of like, yeah, that's because you invested so much into it that your ego won't let you admit you made a mistake. Because it would be too painful to face,
Right.
like, I pay off these loans every month for nothing, than it is to lie and tell yourself, like, no, but I did a good thing, though. It's like you have to look at outside, like, ask around, ask outside sources. I had Luke at that point in my life to kind of help me see through the smoke and mirrors and, like, see the reality of, like, this is where you are. Like, is this really where you want to be? So that was helpful to have just, like, an outsider kind of call me out. But you got to put down your ego is the the bottom line.
Yeah, and that's hard to do, right? It's hard to look outside of like that self-validation. We all have it. We all want to think great things about ourselves, and
Yeah.
I think obviously there's always greatness within, but sometimes we try to look for it maybe a little too hard in the wrong areas. I'm really interested, Shay, in the rebound, and this is you shut this down. And I always find that something clicks, right?
Yeah.
Something like our eyes are open. Maybe it was, I don't know what it was, but you literally started something, and within a matter of just a few years, I don't know, you have an empire.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
Talk about that. Like what moment was there of the switch? And when did you realize that this is something that I can live in this space?
Yeah. Probably when I got that first paycheck from my bedroom, just working from home and like realizing how easy in a way it is to make money on the internet. If you're truly providing value and giving people a service that they need. It was like, for me, that happened and I realized, okay, there's a whole nother world out there that I just don't know and I haven't been aware of. And I'm gonna continue pursuing this. I'm gonna continue to learn about this. So, and it was also really good for my self-esteem, because I hadn't really made money off my music and I was waitressing, so I got to quit my waitressing job, which was scary, because when you're an entrepreneur, the income's not always very consistent.
Right.
But yeah, I think, just like starting to get paid good money, I eventually worked up to making more than I was making as a waitress. And then it just went up from there. It was like, for me, that was kind of the turning point where I was like, okay, you're in the right spot right now.
People of purpose, I have something for you. Go to my website right now, DonnieTuttle.com, and click on the registration, and I will send you a free mini masterclass on purpose. Listen, we talk about who are you being as a human being, taking an account for what you want to be in the future and breaking that up into smaller steps with vision boards. We tackle self-talk and what I would call your I am statements. Listen, it is a great, powerful way to get yourself rocking and rolling. Go register right now at DonnieTuttle.com.
Love it. And I guess one of the things that I've seen as you're doing, I want to know maybe a little bit about how you choose your content, because I feel like there's obviously there are things that are going to get people's attention, the right people's attention.
Yeah.
So a good healthy mix of things that's just like, I feel like it's just uniquely you.
Thank you.
And like, tell me how you enter into this place of service with others, where you're like, I'm giving of what's inside of me because I want to free you from your chains. I see a lot of this chain breaking, mentality stuff going on from you, and it's powerful. Like, how do you decide that? How do
I decide what to talk about?
Well, I mean, just being able to be completely yourself and being completely honest about that. So it's like you're serving in a way that's not just self-serving. You're not just putting stuff out there that's content that's going to bring people into your company. It doesn't necessarily.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
calculated to create business, but it's also calculated to serve.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I want to hear maybe a little bit of the balance or the thought process that goes into that for you, like this purpose and productivity.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a great question. Well, obviously a lot of my strategy comes from data, and that's also how I service my clients is like, you got to test everything, what works, what doesn't. And so I do appreciate, just being able to assess what I've done and what people like to hear about and make more of that. But I think on a personal level, like my my own personal mission, I grew up in a very like fake environment. I grew up like just around a lot of BS where things weren't real. It was all a facade. It was a fake reality, which is really actually not unique to me. I mean, a lot of families live like this, and it made me so like resentful of people not telling or exposing the true truth. And it made me very intolerant, I guess I'll say, of just like fakeness and just like surfacey stuff, which so much of our culture is based on, is very like surfacey stuff. So for me, it's like that quote, you've heard that quote, like be the person you needed when you were younger or something like that. Like for me, it's about being the voice to the public about these real issues that I think we all know deep down are significant, are important, aren't touched on enough, but we're all kind of scared to be the one to, be outspoken and even controversial and shed light on these issues. So for me, it's very easy to talk about these tough topics because I know that when I was younger, if I would have found an influencer who was validating my beliefs while I'm, growing up stuck in a home that's very toxic, that would have been very helpful for me. And that would have been healing to kind of just feel like, you're not alone. And that is the experience I've had for the most part on LinkedIn, is people messaging me that they feel the same way, that they, never heard anyone willing to talk about this before, and like, oh, thank you. So it's very easy to continue when you have so many people thanking you for being the voice in a sense.
Do you feel like that's a part of your mission?
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm definitely always trying to call out people's bullshit, including my own. I'm not, I definitely am not perfect, and I make mistakes myself as well, and I have to be real about that. But yeah, just I'm not afraid to question things and challenge things. And sometimes my videos aren't even necessarily taking a stance on anything. It's just me asking a question. It's just me kind of like challenging something like, hey, are we sure about this? Or like, have we ever really thought this through though? Like, are there other things to consider? I like being someone who kind of provokes that in people, because it's much easier for the typical human to just follow the crowd and feel accepted. Like, well, I don't want to rock the boat or anything. Yeah.
So you are the boat rocker.
Oh, for sure. Yes.
So Thoreau said this. He said, the mass of men are leading lives of quiet desperation.
Yes.
Grave with their song still inside.
Yeah.
And like when you, first off, I think there's a song, right, in all of us. And like if you were to say that about yourself, your song that others are hearing, and I think some of it you just now shared, if you could, I'm not asking you to sing it, you don't have to sing it, but if there's a song in Shay Rowbottom's life that that releases power and beauty into this world, what would that be?
Like a real song, like by an actual artist, like
no, just maybe just something like for me, purpose. Like if I were to share anything with people, it's like, like there's a purpose for you, and and you can live a joyful life now. That like so it's like that's my life statement, I guess. That's that version of that. But it's like, is there anything that if I were to squeeze from you and from your marrow that's just inside of you, that's just this message that you want the whole world to know?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Okay. So people, in general are never really taught to love themselves and are never really told that they can be selfish. This is especially true for women. You know, a lot of times we grow up being conditioned to believe that any act like for ourselves is selfish and you should focus on spending your energy helping others and helping the world. But it's very ironic because the best way for anyone to help the world is to be happy first themselves. So, you know, for me, I just really want to give people permission to do that for themselves. And I want people to understand that it's very common in our culture, and you'll see this all the time, to like compliment someone else, to say, you know, like, Donnie, you're awesome. Like, your podcast is amazing. You're killing it on LinkedIn, or, you know, whatever the case may be. It's very easy. And then society supports that. They back that up. They're like, oh, Shay's giving compliments. This is great. You know, we are accepting of this. This is normal. Versus when you do it to yourself, you know, if I were to just make a video, come on and say like, dude, I'm awesome. I'm great at creating videos. I'm so proud of myself. I can't even believe I'm a powerhouse. Yes, yes, yes. People are really uncomfortable with that. You know, people like, oh, are arrogant much? Or like, kind of like, what are you doing there, Shay? It's like, well, why is it different? Why am I allowed to say these things to Donnie? But then if I turn it on myself and show appreciation for my own being, I'm somehow viewed as selfish or flawed. It's a really weird thing in our society where like it's okay to compliment others and it's okay to praise others. But oftentimes the minute we do it to ourselves, you know, to what I would consider a healthy degree, we're shamed for it. And it perpetuates this culture in which people can't do what they want. People can't learn to love themselves. People can't follow their own path, their own dreams. And it's sad because there are so many people just living their lives for others and for the expectations of what others have put on them.
All right. Okay. So I'm going to let you instruct us because this is something that I think is super powerful. Shay, I work with, if I were to mention some of the names of the people I work with, a lot of people would know them, but they're in a place and they don't know what they're here, why they're here for. And even though they have all kinds of money and fame and wealth, they don't they're not doing this one thing.
Yeah,
think that they're crap. So what, like, give me the medicine, Shay. Like, what do you do to yourself to kind of to have that self-talk? Because like, just you personally, how do you do it?
Oh man, you know, it's a lot. I think, you know, there's so many ways I could answer that question. I liked how you use the term medicine, because the medicine, or what they call, you know, quote, medicine, in our culture is all, you know, man-made big pharma drugs that are meant to put a Band-Aid on you and not really heal you, but keep you as a customer for life. So, you know, I think, and I do see this shift happening already in the mass population for the most part. It's somewhat shifting where we're kind of starting to wake up and go back into nature, because all the medicine and all the healing we need is in nature, either through, you know, plant medicines, through just being in nature is very therapeutic, going for walks, eating clean, you know, being connected to the earth. That's what we have now. We've kind of reached a pivotal point with technology and everything where we've veered so far away from that it's like the rubber band is snapping and people are sick and tired of being sick and tired. We're kind of all waking up like, you know, I do want to get off my antidepressants and I do want to, you know, start eating a clean diet, and I do want to, you know, make a commitment to, you know, just once a month, go in the woods, go camping, go, you know, get reconnected with nature, because truly everything we need is in nature. And it's so hard for people to heal and face their demons today because we're so distracted. You know, we're in the modern world. It's easy to just Band-Aid, you know, go eat junk food, go consume Netflix, go on social media, just keep piling it up, just keep covering it up. When the true path to getting to the root of your issues, and I'm talking about the root of your issues, you know, is to be in silence, is to meditate, is to reflect, is to put down all of those distractions and reemerge yourself in nature. because that's really where we come from, and that's really where all the answers lie.
So for Shay to go back in and operate and remove the bad programming and to put in the good, you're telling me that it's nature in silence?
It is. Yeah. And I'll just give you another example to kind of just show the different ways that this can happen. Like, I struggled with asthma a lot in my life. Like, when I was, I think about 16 or so, I started getting really bad asthma, and it only escalated from there. I was getting sick all the time. My immune system was shot. I would get these coughs like every 2 months. I would just get sick with this cough, and then my asthma would perpetuate it. I'd have bronchitis. I was just in a really bad place with my asthma, and it really, to anyone who has asthma, I just my heart goes out to them, because that is not a feeling I'd wish on anyone. Not being able to breathe, it's horrible. So what I did for years was I saw Western doctors, and they all told me there's nothing you can do about it. You'll always have this. You got to have inhalers. They put me on steroids multiple times. I was just heavily medicated, and it was expensive. So eventually I went and I saw an Ayurvedic doctor, an Indian doctor. And she told me that I need to be doing breathing exercises, which seems pretty obvious, like asthma breathing exercises, but no doctor had ever told me that before. And I just wasn't really into yoga or meditation at the time. I just wasn't really I wasn't educated. And so she gave me this exercise. She said, look, do this every morning. She also put me on a diet, to kind of an anti-inflammatory diet to kind of just clean up my inside. But she said, every morning, do this exercise. And I said, okay, I'll try it. And within 2 weeks, my asthma was gone. Within 2 weeks, I was no longer using my inhaler, and I never used it. I literally, the 2 weeks it kicked in, and it's been actually on June 6th, so just a week from today, it will be my 2-year anniversary from having used any inhaler. Wow. And all I did was breathe. Learn how to meditate, learn how to be with myself. And it just regulated everything within me. And also it's free. It's just nature. I'm not paying for inhalers anymore. I'm not going, having to take so many trips to the pulmonary clinic. And it was just really eye-opening, wow. So that's when I started to, look more into natural remedies for my health and different alternative medicines.
That's powerful. And if I can make maybe a little bit of a link and maybe go on a slight rant here.
Okay, yeah, let's hear the rant.
Because you're in the coaching industry, right? Yes. I'm in the coaching industry, and you mentioned something that I feel like we have to be careful. I feel like I want to not be big pharma.
Right.
I think that most people out there in our industry in self-improvement, they want to create, I wrote it down, you said man-made customers for life.
Yes.
Do I really want to create another dependent,
mm-hmm.
or do I want to create a hero?
Yeah, thank you.
What am I reproducing in this world? Every place you go to, they have a program that has one more step, and there's one more step, and boy, you'd almost have it if you just had this one more step, and it's just like that one more little bit of hit of a drug.
Yep.
The reality is if none of us are doing everything we know to do.
Yeah.
Doing those simple breathing exercises, right? Whenever it comes down to it.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
If we take that moment and we're actually willing to have that silence and, have the journaling time where you're writing your notes and my notes, but it's okay. Have that moment of journaling time or whatever it is for you. For me, it's prayer. I still music as a place of connection, but I don't I never did it professionally. It's just me and God. That's just how that's a thing. That aligns me. That gives me answers and access to things that I didn't necessarily have from going to a conference. And don't get me wrong, I love conferences. I love coaches. I have coaches. All of those things, those aren't bad. But when we're always looking for the answers from without
mm-hmm.
instead of from within, I think it cripples us.
Yeah. And I think you touched on a really important point where it's almost this collective scarcity mindset that we have in society, that you want to just give people enough so that they keep coming back and they're a repeat customer, versus if you just fix people and give them, the permanent solution to their needs, you're going to have more success because you're going to have so many testimonials of people saying, this is the person, that it actually has the reverse effect to what most people believe when they're kind of in that scarcity mindset. Like, no, I need to not give people the entire treatment because then they'll never come back. I'll be out of business. It's sort of like, it's the whole world. We value money more than we value like just actually creating happiness for humanity. The motivation is money instead of, well, we now have enough resources in the world to feed everyone. We now have enough resources to house and clothe everyone. Then why is not everyone getting helped? Because those aren't the priorities still. Collectively, the priorities are still, money, competition, corporation, like that life, like being on top, being the best.
Right.
And I do think this is also shifting, where people are starting to wake up and realize, like, okay, we treat the entire world like an economy, like a business. Like, we don't treat the world like, well, what is our mission here? Or don't we really just want everyone to be happy and to have peace? So it's cool that you touched on that about people not wanting to really help people all the way or provide as much value as they could because they've been conditioned.
We're afraid.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And well, I think that, right, like there's this movement towards organic, right?
Oh yeah.
And the reality is that all of us see that value, and it's like, yeah, I'll pay 50% more for something that was grown on this type of plant or whatever. But and the interesting thing is and that's very trendy now with food. We realize that there's a reason for that, but we don't realize that actually our relationships and our businesses and our lives and our families, there's a very simple way to do these things. And this stuff is hard if you want it to be hard.
Yeah.
But if you can, it's actually pretty simple as well. Yeah. You said something like, and it just kind of made me think, and I'm curious with the rise of a business the way that yours has risen. You went from being a waitress, right, playing singing gigs.
Yeah.
And now you're the head of a successful business. I don't know. You have like 1 billion people in warehouses and underground bunkers all over the world.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah.
And so like what has changed and what's been your challenge with that type of success? Because sometimes that can mess with our little self-talk stuff too. And I mean, there's a transition going on there as well.
So Grant Cardone has a quote, if no one hates you, no one knows you. And I think that really applies here because truly for a lot of my life, I was in a position where I was able to have everyone like me, but it's also because I wasn't big, I wasn't growing, I wasn't known. As soon as you get big, and I'm not just talking about like big as like an influencer online, but big with your business, you start attracting more and more clients, you start servicing more and more people, just talking to more and more people. You will mess up, you will make mistakes. It doesn't matter how perfect your business is. Chances are there will be a dissatisfied customer who has bad things to say about you, who had a bad experience. Chances are, there's people who see my videos who, hate me or even report them because they're offended. The point is, it's like you have to break through and just accept that at a certain level of success, not everyone's going to like you. It's impossible. If you want to get everyone to like you, be nobody, be nobody and help nobody, essentially is what it is. So for me, especially earlier in my life, being such a people pleaser and wanting all the attention and love I could get, it was like kind of hard for me to break through that and step into like, Shay, there's going to be some people who just like outwardly don't like you. And like, you need to be okay with that.
That is powerful. If I could, I feel like that's one of the most valuable things I share with people in the world of sales is like, listen, not everyone's a fit. Yeah. That's okay because like, it's not a failure. I just found out that they're not a fit.
Exactly.
Okay, so this was a 2-for-1 podcast. It's Shay Rowbottom on the Purpose Driven Executive podcast, as well as the Sell Anywhere podcast. And so part 2 of this, it's only about 15 minutes long, is Shay talking about how to sell from a place of authenticity, which she has done an amazing job at. So go ahead and jump over to Sell Anywhere and hear part 2. Or if you're a good purpose-driven executive and you request it, maybe we can put it on the PDE show as well. Hey, thanks for joining us, and let us know what you think, and don't forget to follow, like, subscribe, and leave comments. That helps us to get found. All right, guys, we will catch you soon.